evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good evening. Welcome on the 10th day of the 5th month, 2025. Welcome to another episode of Rock the Mic. I'm your host, Garfield Waller. And tonight, let's have a lovely night of streaming, guys. Here in Florida, I would say, a rainy night. Rain has stopped for a while, but thunder and lightning outside. So let's get this thing kicked off the usual way, guys. If you're watching, thank you. And if you plan to watch in the future on the replay, fine. Please leave your comments whichever way. Whether you're logging on tonight or maybe tomorrow or the day after, please leave your comments. Now, please, as we normally do, if you're listening, give me a sound check, please. I want to know how this sounds. I am curious to know if I'm too loud or if I'm too soft. But hey, this week, very eventful week. A lot of things happening. But let me know where you're watching from, where you're listening from. Let's start with one of the biggest things. I know not everybody is Catholic. Not everybody is Catholic, but hey, this was basically the first religion out there. So we saw the election of a new pope. There's his picture on the screen, and he has taken the name Pope Leo the 14th. Now, what do you guys think? I'm curious to know, what do you guys think about an American pope? For the first time, an American has been elected pope. Last time we had a South American. Now we have a North American. Even though he has done extensive work in Peru in South America, he's basically the first American pope. What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? How will this help or hurt the Catholic Church? I'd love to know what you think about it. If you have any ideas, please just put them in the chat. Just put them in the comments. Make your comments and let me know. If you want to call in, it's 347-225-4654. It's a free WhatsApp call. It's a free WhatsApp call, guys. So these 133 cardinals had that conclave, and in very quick time they elected Pope Prevost, and he has taken the name Pope Leo the 14th. What are your thoughts on this thing? What do you see happening? Will there be improvements in the Catholic Church? Will he be a progressive pope, or will he be, one of those conservative guys? Will he continue to open up the church, or will the church retract and close doors again, close ranks? Let me hear your ideas. You don't have to be a Catholic to express your ideas here. What do you think as a Christian? What are your ideas? You may not view the Catholic Church as your church, but it's the oldest institution around, religious institution. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. Bearing in mind that the Pope has a lot of influence. The Pope has influence in all of the continents, guys. Regardless of where you're black, white, blue, yellow, green, the Pope has some influence there. So let's hear what you think. Just put it in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I want to see if this chat is working. So let me put something in there first. So I'm going to say good evening. And let's see if anything pops up here. Okay, good. I know the chat is working. So if you're listening, guys, if you're watching, give me a sound check first and just tell me, what do you think about this new Pope, Pope Leo the 14th? And please do, I know some people are very, why did he choose that name? Listen, the popes do not have to go in order like Pope Paul or Peter or whatever. They can take any name from one of the previous popes they want. And the fact that he is 14th tells you that there were 13 other Leos before him. And there'll be more Leos after him. I guess a pope takes the name after some previous pope that he admired. I guess that's how it goes. But I don't know if you're like me. Some months ago, I watched the movie The Conclave, because I'm always interested in those things. What piqued my interest was a couple of years ago, there was a series on TV called The Borgia about the Borgia Pope. I think it was Pope Alexander the Tenth or something like that. But it piqued my interest to see what a conclave was really like and the intrigue that happened behind those closed doors. Because it's supposed to be a pristine environment, they are cut off from the outside world, but it showed that hey, things happened. Things happened, and now we believe that all elections were fair, but not really. But that movie the other day, The Conclave, showed us a lot of the inner workings of the Vatican, and it was quite interesting. I was the only thing that disappointed me was just when I snuggled back in my chair, ready to get this movie going, it ended. I didn't like the way it ended. I was expecting more, but it gave me an insight into what this whole election or selection of a pope is like. And being the type of person I am, I'm wondering when will we get an African pope? But this one is from the United States, Chicago, and like his bio said, he did a lot of work back in Peru. So he has he has experience with the poor. He has experience with the downtrodden. He has experience with the homeless because Peru is not really a first world country. He's he has been among people who have suffered. So the hope is that he will carry that he learned into the Vatican, and he'll be somebody who can do something for the poor and downtrodden of the world. Okay, so remember, anything you want to say about Pope Leo, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. Okay, right now, guys, in the US, most Jamaicans really are watching the NBA playoffs with interest. Most Jamaicans are watching the NBA playoffs with interest, and we see where the hotshot Lakers have been bounced. And a few series that have been going on, we can see the Nuggets have a 2-1 lead over the Oklahoma Thunder. Very interesting series. And this evening, earlier this evening, the Cavaliers bounced the Pacers to tighten up the series. The Pacers lead 2-1. But the interesting series was what happened earlier today with the New York Knicks after jumping out to a wonderful 2-0 lead against the Celtics at Boston. Bear in mind, at Boston, they beat the Celtics right on their home floor in the Boston Garden. Now they return to MSG and they got trounced. They got trounced by the Celtics. And I have a friend who said the Celtics choked on their home floor. What do you say about the Knicks? Do you call this a choking also? Because I don't know what you call it. From the get-go, it was the Celtics just hammering them. So, any basketball fans out there, let me hear what you think. I'd love to hear your ideas on the basketball. And currently, going on right now as we speak, there's another series with the Warriors, Golden State Warriors against the Timberwolves. And it's a very tight match. Jimmy Butler showing up there, and it's a Butler versus Ant-Man series, Anthony Edwards. Fantastic young man, fantastic youngster. But let me hear what you guys think about this whole basketball series. And for my soccer fans, yeah, what's happening in Europe? Manchester United may actually end up with some title or the other. And staying on sports, yeah, the big thing, the world relays going on in China. And I know most Jamaican track and field fans are a bit disappointed. I wouldn't say a bit. I've been watching the comments on Facebook, and hey, Jamaicans are down in the dumps. Of six relays, we only made it through the two finals. We only made it through the women's 4x1. I think in our heat, we placed second to Spain. Spain whipped us with Sherika Jackson running the ankle leg, not being able to pull back anybody. But I guess tomorrow when the finals come around and, people put the pedal to the metal or the spikes to the track, We will see if Jamaica can pull back some of these teams. It's going to be interesting. So we are through in the women's 4x1, and we won our heat in the mixed relay. We won our heat in the mixed relay, and we will see how that works out tomorrow. So we have a chance, you gotta say, of getting two medals here. Something I've always wondered though, since this world relays was announced, I wondered how the teams were selected because a lot of the big guns aren't there. I was surprised to see Shelly and Sharika participating, and I think, hey, this should be a chance for the younger upcoming athletes, give them a chance to run. But I guess Shelly and Sharika wanted to use this as some sort of training, getting sharpened up. And honestly, Shelly looked good on the backstretch. Shelly looked good on the backstretch. Sharika didn't make too much of an inroad into that lead, into pulling back the runner from Spain. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see if they're going to run in the same order which they ran today, or we're going to have some changes. I can't see. I don't know. I'm thinking Shelly backstretch, maybe Sharika on the third leg, and that other young lady on the anchor leg. I think they may have to make a few changes here. But guys, back again to going further back. If you watch the Grand Slam track and field, I'd love to know your thoughts. Don't be afraid. Put it in the chat. Put your thoughts in. What do you think of this Johnson endeavor? And I hear that World Athletics is coming up with something to really challenge him. Something that I found interesting was he said that the two meets he has had, one in Jamaica and the one in Miami, he has left all the equipment, so all the hurdles and everything was that he used in Jamaica, they were left right there for J3A or the high schools, but he donated them. He did the same thing in Miami. So I guess everywhere he goes, he's gonna leave all the equipment that they used. But guys, back to St. Mary. Back to St. Mary. Let's see what's happening there. I don't know if anybody will come in now, because guys, politics is in the air. And let me say that, listen, I look at other YouTube channels and they're either pro JLP, pro PNP, and they get a lot of viewership. I really don't mind. I want to be impartial. I want to be independent. I want to look at what's happening for the good of the country. And I won't hesitate to say, hey, Party A is doing something good or they're doing something bad, and say the same thing for Party B. I'm not going to just put one party over the other. I think that's too divisive. So let's check out St. Mary, guys, and see what's happening. Maybe people call in then or put in a comment. And my first question to you is, when do you think this election will be held? When do you think Prime Minister Honest will call the election? What is he waiting on? In your view, what do you think he's waiting on? Why not call it? Why not give the date from now? Is he, I heard somebody said, he's trying to hold it and hope that the PNP makes some big mistake along the way? Do you think that's it? Do you think he has a date already planned? Hoping this thing will happen before independence, for independence celebrations. But for those of you who breathe politics, when do you think the elections will be? We know it cannot be in the month of May again. We're thinking about June, July. But in your estimation, how far out do you think he'll give us a notice for this election? And I was learning in the week that when it comes to general elections, a constituency in Jamaica plays a very big role. I was just learning that a constituency plays a massive role in our general elections. Little St. Mary. And here's what I learned. I learned that the party that wins Western St. Mary always wins the general election. Can you imagine that? Whichever party wins Whichever party is victorious in Western St. Mary, they're gonna win the general election. Is it a fluke or is it just a coincidence why this happens? Very, very, very interesting fact here, guys. I hope it's a fact. I hope nobody comes on and prove me wrong. But last two elections, the JLP took Western St. Mary's Bobby Montague, and the JLP took the general elections. Will that happen again? Will that happen again? Because a week or so ago, at some conference in Orocabessa, oh my gosh, I'm sorry I don't have the video here, but that was a massive, that was a massive meeting in Orocabessa. The PNP had that meeting. The challenger to Mr. Montague, Omar Woodbine, promised that Mr. Montague will get the mother of all beatings in the upcoming election, the mother of all spankings. And I mean, the man sounds as confident as anybody could. What do you guys think? Can he dethrone the old lion, Bobby Montague? Or is he just blowing smoke? Is the PNP ready? In Western St. Mary, that is. Are they that confident? And I spoke to a few guys, and there are guys who are willing to basically bet their house and land that the PNP is going to upset the JLP. But if you know Bobby like I do, he's got a trick or two up his sleeve. You see the way he's working feverishly, churning out one project after another, turning out things after another. It's this school being looked after, this road being looked after, this bridge being looked after. Will the PNP be able to match that? Will the PNP... Because remember, people normally remember the last thing they see or the last thing they hear. And I guess this is what the JLP is banking on. They're piling on this in the last few minutes, hoping that that's what the people will see, hear, remember, and latch on to when they go into the polls. But the fact that Western St. Mary has always been the harbinger for the general election, the forerunner, hey, that says a lot. Okay, Norma Martinez, come and say goodbye. Hi, how are you? Okay, Aiden, good. Aiden, we are discussing things, Jamaican politics, so we'll talk again, Aiden. Okay, well, glad to have you on. But guys, yes, Western St. Mary. What I'm hoping, guys, what I'm hoping is what the JLP is doing in Western St. Mary. That after the election, whether they win or lose, they will continue. I am hoping and praying that if the PNP wins, they will continue a lot of what the JLP has been doing, a lot of the school building, the roads, lights, the housing area, the water. I'm hoping that continues. What I would hate to see is that if the JLP wins, they just drop everything. They just drop hands because they know they're in for another 5 years. I would hate for that to happen. That is, if they win, they just say, okay, we got the mandate again, so we don't have to look after the people. Not just in Western St. Mary. I'm hoping that happens in every constituency in Jamaica. That even after the election is done with, the politicians still look out for the people. Don't just use the people like that. And I think it I don't know, I don't want people to say I put in bad mouth on them, but and I just have that feeling that a lot of Jamaicans are gonna be in for a big disappointment after this election is done. Because there are a lot of them riding on the bandwagon that their party is doing X, Y, Z, yes. And after the election is done, when the votes are counted, they're just going to be dropped flat. Because typically, the politicians don't care again until another 5 years or so. If you have anything to say, guys, any comments, don't be afraid. Put them in the comment box, put them in the chat. And I wonder why is it that some people, they're afraid to comment, but they'll go on Facebook and make some outlandish posts. But That's not that's neither here nor there. But we're not saying that St. Mary only has that one constituency. Let's look at the others. In Central St. Mary again, the PNP is saying that look, they are winning this election. They seem so confident it's not funny. They say Central St. Mary has always been a PNP stronghold, and there's no way that the GLP is going to be able to unseat them. They're saying now, even weeks or months before the election, you can hand it to Omar Newell. That's how confident they are. They're saying no matter what happens, no matter what happens in St. Mary, whether the treatment is good or bad, St. Mary Central will always vote PNP. Is this a year for a change? Is this the year for a change? Is this a year when we're going to have an upset? And the man at the helm for the upset is none other than Champ Mirage. Can this youngster come in and beat the more experienced Newell? Mirage is coming in for the first time, really, and people may look at him and say, hey, inexperienced. I looked at him and I said inexperienced, but we're wondering, everybody's wondering, does he have that political machinery about him, for example, on the day of election, to mobilize people to help transport people here, there, to make sure he has people in those at those polling booths to make sure things are going right, to motivate. Does he have that machinery about him? Because politics is not just campaigning and then turning up to see what happens. Yes, somebody saying, hey, this is my first time tuning in. Can you explain further the significance of St. Mary and its relation to the general election? Yes, I was just saying that it's been proven that the party that wins in Western St. Mary always wins the general election. We don't know why, and we don't know if it's coincidence, but the party that comes out on top in Western St. Mary most often forms the government of Jamaica. And if you look for the last two elections, hey, Bobby Montaque won for the JLP, and JLP formed the government. The one before that, I think it was Silvera, one in Western St. Mary. The PNP were the government. And for people who are older and more experienced than I am in electoral matters, they could come on and tell us how far back this goes and who won when. But that is how it is. Just a little piece of trivia. I don't know if you can call it trivia. And the name of that person is Resident Raccoon. I don't know. Don't know who that is. But glad to have you on your first time tuning in. Glad to have you on. And honestly, for the last couple of weeks, we've been in politics, but it won't always be politics. It's just because politics is a major thing going on now in Jamaica. We have decided, let's see if we can drum up some interest. Let's see if we can get some people who are interested in having a fair and impartial discussion instead of just preaching to the choir. But in Central St. Mary, the JLP and the Mirage, they are confident that they can finally, this will be the year that the PNP is sent packing. Because to the JLP, nothing has been done in Central St. Mary to help the populace. And they're saying that it's time for a change. That's understandable. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with this election. We'll see if that's true. If it turns out to be true, this election, wow, it would be a remarkable, how could I say it, a remarkable fact, or, something to really look forward. Look, if it happens again this year, I think Western St. Mary may be the most important constituency in the country. I don't know if it happens in any other constituency. Anybody who knows more about politics, could you come on and tell me? And who is this? Clive. Welcome, Clive. The PNP cannot lose Central St. Mary. Why do you think so, Clive? Why do you think so? Despite the cussing I hear the PNP politicians getting, Why do you think they can't lose? Clive, I need you to continue with that. Why do you think the PNP can't lose? Because if it's one constituency I hear people being disgruntled, it's in Central St. Mary. Clive, I'm waiting on you. Your next sentence should tell me why is it that the PNP cannot lose? So it's going from, who was it? Maurice Guy. Now it's going to be Newell. Can he hold on to it? Can Newell hold on to it? Because it looks to me like this guy, Mirage, is doing a lot of groundwork. Mirage seems to be in a different community almost every day. Will that help? Will that help him? But he seems to be all over the place. Everywhere I look, it's Mirage. Mirage is here. Mirage is there. Will that help him? Can that help? Or like Clive said, it's going back to the PNP. So Clive, I need you to come on and let me know why, man. Come on, Clive. Let's hear why. Why do you say that? What has the PNP done to deserve another term in Central St. Mary? I'd love to hear from you, Clive. And if there's anybody else logging on, because I know there are a lot of people down in Port Maria. I see their comments on Facebook, especially some of the ladies. I see the comments. Here's your chance. Will you unseat the People's National Party? Or will it go back to being the usual? And then another 5 years of complaining, blah, 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 blah. And I'd like to know from the supporters of the People's National Party, what will they do to enhance life in St. Mary Central? What can be done? What will the party embark on to enhance life in Central St. Mary? Because, hey, whether you're a PNP or not, a lot needs to be done. A lot needs to be done. The roads, the water. Come on, man. I'd love to hear from you. Don't just, come on, Clive. Don't let me down. I need to know why do you think they can't lose? And then moving further to the east over in Southeast St. Mary, where we have Dr. Dunn and who is it? Christopher, what's his last name again? That's Christopher Brown. That should be an interesting one because Mr. Dunn seems to be a very quiet guy, but I hear he's doing a lot of work. I hear he's hard at work. Don't know how true it is. Can somebody come on and confirm or refute that? I hear he's really working. And I hear Mr. Brown is on the ground there drumming up a lot of support. That one should be very competitive also. That should be very competitive. And when you, as an outsider, if you look at St. Mary, when it comes to Southeast St. Mary, sometimes you wonder, what do they have in their favor? Could know that grazing the sugar factory is gone. And Clive Grant saying the people of Central St. Mary, even if they are hurting on the day of election, will support the PNP. So Clive, even if they're hurting, they're still gonna go PNP. Does that make sense, Clive? I don't know whether you are PNP or GLP, Clive, but speaking as maybe a St. Mary person, a Central St. Mary person, does that make sense? Even if they're hurting, in fact, not just St. Mary, a lot of our electorate in Jamaica think like that. No matter what, they'll always vote one party. Even as Clive said, even if they're hurting. So Clive, you don't think Mirage stands a chance? Do you think, yeah, Clive, on a scale of 1 to 10, listen to me, Clive, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being he has virtually no chance. 10 means he's gonna create an upset. How do you see Mirage doing? What number would you give Mirage in this thing? Clive, on a scale of 1 to 10, Mirage. 10 being great, he's going to create an upset. 1 being he has no chance in hell. Where do you see Mirage? you give him a, you give him a 4. Okay. And Clive, if you move a little to the east, over in South Central, who do you southeastern? Who do you think will carry that constituency? Dunn or Brown? Which party would you prefer to win the general election? I am looking at honestly, I'm looking at both parties. I'm trying to look at their whole manifesto and look at what they stand for. And people are saying, hey, the PNP is doing this, the PNP is doing that, doing blah blah blah. But I still see people suffering. Not that I expect things to change overnight. Not that I expect things to change overnight, but despite what they're saying about progress and everything, it, I don't know, me not being there on the ground to actually see day to day, I honestly, honest to God, I really can't say. I really cannot really make a call yet. Because to me, okay, JLP claims that they've done a lot to keep crime down. Yep. But then at the same time I hear people saying, hey, why weren't they doing this long ago? Why weren't they doing this long ago? Is it that they purposely let crime get out of hand until now? You look at the roads, the water. I don't know if I've been. Hey, listen, I'm living in the States. I may have been spoiled by my being here, and I'm not on the ground there. So it, it I don't know. It's a tough call, Raccoon. It's a tough call. I want to leave that up to the people who are living the whole situation. All I want to see for the country is a better country. A better country where the health care is improved, water, roads, power, and a lot of the corruption, whether it be by the government or just by the people themselves, I'd love to see a lot of that just go by the wayside. And that's my fervent prayer for Jamaica. Honestly, I couldn't care less whether it's green or orange, as long as the country progresses, as long as we get, as long as we can have what we had way back in the '60s when everybody was. I know that's a pipe dream. I know it's a pipe dream. But back to what I was asking. Over in southeastern, who do you see winning? Who do you see winning? And raccoon, I don't know what kind of name is that. Who would you prefer? Who would you prefer? The JLP government, or would you like things to continue the way they are, or do you want to see a change? Would you like to see a change? And for those who are watching, please go ahead and comment. Make a comment. Nobody's gonna criticize you as long as we keep our comments clean and respectful. I'd love to hear what you think. Your ideas are very important here, guys. I'm here to learn from you, especially if you're in Jamaica. I'd love to know people who are at ground zero. People who are at ground zero right there. Let me know what you think. Because listening to you listen to 10 people and 5 of them will swear JP is the best. And the other 5 will say the opposite thing. So sometimes you really don't know who to go by. Who do you listen to? Who's telling the truth? This one says this party is corrupt. The other one says the other party is full of thieves, blah, blah, blah. But they say by their fruits you shall know them, and we're waiting to see all the fruits. But don't be afraid to comment, guys. Whether you're going to comment now or maybe tomorrow or during the week as you watch it on the replay, fine. And I'm going to ask you something I want to ask you guys. When it comes to podcasting like this, Facebook is not really the platform for it. It's more YouTube. YouTube is more of a video channel. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you normally watch it on Facebook, please, I want to start migrating over to YouTube, because what YouTube is doing now, a couple of weeks ago, they started removing all videos after 30 days. So after 30 days, they're wiping out your video clean. Facebook, not YouTube, Facebook is doing that. YouTube will keep them, but Facebook is saying you have 30 days. Your video is up there for 30 days, and then it's gonna be totally deleted. So if you watch on Facebook, come on over to YouTube and join me. Come on over to YouTube and join me. I'm gonna put the link in, and you can just log in that way. Just go to the channel, Rock the Mic, or Facebook/Garfield Waller, and there you'll find me. And once you come on, subscribe, and we'll make it much easier. So every time I go live, you will get that pop up. But I'd love to know from you guys who are long gone, who would you like to see win the election? That person asked me who I would like to see, but you guys are there on the ground. You know what's happening in your constituency. He or she who feels it knows it. So let me hear your idea. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Who would you prefer to lead? Would you prefer to continue under the Honest government, or would you like to see Mr. Golding get his chance? I'm really curious as to what the person who is experiencing, what do you think about it? What do you think about it? So guys, eagerly awaiting your comments. Eagerly awaiting your comments. Election is in the air. And when do you think the Prime Minister will announce a date? What do you think he's waiting on? Is he waiting on another poll to come out, or what? What if the poll is not favorable to him? What will that do with his announcement? And guys, I've heard people saying that should the PNP lose this one, they're gonna be in the wilderness for another 3 election cycles or so. So it's of utmost importance to the PNP. It's more important for the PNP to win than the JLP. It's easier for the JLP to lose and then make a comeback next cycle. But should the PNP lose this one, of which they think they are certain of winning, it's a bad thing in any competition, sports or whatever. You go in thinking this is your year, this is your time, you're going to lift the crown. And you have prepared and thrown everything at it, only to come up short. How do you bounce back from that? How do you bounce back from that? And also, we look at the JLP who, hey, they figured they did great for 2 terms, and then the people kick it to the curb. What do you do for an encore? How do you come back from something like that? So whichever group wins, whichever party wins, listen, the loser is gonna have a very, very hard time coming back from the wilderness. It's really gonna be wilderness. It's really gonna be wilderness. And talking to a couple of friends yesterday, they're saying yes, they can see the JLP's government, but they don't see the PNP's. They say the PNP tends to lack that core group around which it can, form a government. Is that true? You let me know. Is that true or not? And they're saying should the PNP lose, there's no real bright spark there who they think could take over. Because should they lose, chances are Golding will no longer be in charge. Who would be? And that's a person they're searching for as a successor to Golding. So this is very important to the PNP. It's as if they're facing a must-win situation. They're facing a must-win situation. And I hope this must-win situation doesn't turn into desperation and we have bad things happening. But I'd like the parties to, especially the JLP, I want to see some more improvement in the health sector. One of these days, I want to do another program on, returning to Jamaica, returning residents. their hopes and fears and wants and needs. I want to do something like that. And I want to get a panel going off people living abroad in the US or in Canada or England who plan and would like to return home. What would they like to see? And trust me, that plays a lot into the election because the listen, even though we're not on the ground there, the diaspora has a lot to say about it. People may think no. People may think no, no, they're abroad, stay abroad. When leave our business alone. No, we're still Jamaicans. I don't care what you guys think. We are still Jamaicans. But people here have we have our hopes, we have our dreams, and some of the desires that would like things we would like to see put into place. Not that we come over here and we get spoiled and we try to tell you what to do. No, it just for the benefit of the country. So, guys, if you guys are scared to comment, make sure you watch this in the coming week. Put your comments in because I find out on most of the videos, people will comment a day or two after. I don't know why they're afraid. And free call on WhatsApp 347-225-4654. So, guys, when is it? Is this Delinda? How you doing? How you doing, madam? The Prime Minister hasn't really called the date yet. He hasn't really announced a date. And that's keeping everybody in limbo. Everybody wants to know when will it be? And I guess the campaigns won't heat up and make that final push until the election is announced. And if you notice, a lot of the politicians, a lot of the candidates are a bit quiet. They don't want to. They really don't want to talk. I've tried to interview a lot of them, but no, they don't want to talk. Apparently, the party's telling them, "Hey, be quiet, don't say anything." And Mr. Elliott, addressing your question as to whether Jamaicans would prefer GLP or PNP, the IMF just issued a statement commending and endorsing the honest GLP administration. Yes, I saw that on the handing of the Jamaican economy. In the meantime, Mr. Golden presented a 5-year plan for an annual budget. You mean the plan of shiny promises, but which contained a humongous deficit of, was it 204? I thought it was 104. So the report said that, indicating how it would be financed. Which government do you think would be best for Jamaica? So Mr. Elliott, very outspoken gentleman, very eloquent gentleman, he's pointing to the IMF recommendations and the IMF commending Jamaica on the way they handle their fiscal responsibility. And well, hey, look at it this way. Since the PNP are not in government, it's hard for them to really put out a plan. They're just the man did it wasn't really a plan he put out. It wasn't really a plan because he didn't say where and how he would raise all that money. But it was interesting. It was an interesting little debate. I enjoyed it. But so, Mr. Elliott, you are saying that no way the PNP can handle the responsibility for the next 5 years, and it should go back to the GLP. Is there anybody who wants to refute that? Or will you just let Mr. Elliott win? Is there anybody of the orange persuasion who would like to refute what Mr. Elliott said? Because I know this man can dig into his bag of facts, and he'll just keep coming with them like he's bowing his hand in dominoes. But don't deny it, the PNP is going to have it hard. The PNP is going to have a hard time clawing their way back into Gordon House. It's going to be tough. Well, guys, we have been on now for exactly 45 minutes, and I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm going to leave this thing up for the next week or so. Remember, join me at Prefer on YouTube because Facebook is basically phasing out the videos. It was never a video platform anyway. It was always just for comments. So join us on YouTube. The videos will stay on YouTube for now. They're up there forever. So, ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to say Mothers in particular, tomorrow is your day. Tomorrow is your day. Enjoy it. Get some rest, even though most of you won't. Even though it's Mother's Day, I know most of you will be still up there preparing breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the family. And that's why we value you so much. You are great at what you do. Some of you mothers are also fathers. And remember, the hand that rocks the cradle rule the world. So tomorrow, ladies, happy Mother's Day and enjoy. I'll see you again next week. Have a nice evening. And for those who join me, thank you very much. Peace out. Stay safe. Have a great